Welcome back, my friends. Here's another math video for you. Today we're going to be going over some basic exponents and some distribution and some simple things like that. Also some interest rates, lots of fun stuff. So in this problem right here, I just want to highlight that we have numbers 3 and 4. So we're going to multiply the 3 and the 4, and we're going to get 12. Then we're going to take the x squareds. X squared times x squared times x squared. And that's going to give you x to the 6 because you just have to add the exponents. If you multiply x squared times x squared times x squared, you just add those exponents up. 2 plus 2 plus 2. Anytime you add a variable with exponents, anytime you multiply variables with the same variable with different exponents, or maybe the same exponent with any exponent, you add the exponents. So that becomes 12x to the 6. And that is all. That's number 1. Number 2, 5u squared to the 4th. What I want you to learn is that every number, including this 5 here, has a hidden exponent of 1. And what you can do then is, if you have an exponent on the outside, is you can just multiply these exponents, and that's going to give you 5 to the 4th and u to the 8. And that will be your answer. There's another way to think about this, though. You could say, hey, this is 5u squared, and then do that 4 times. 5u squared. It's a little bit of a slog. It's a little tedious. I don't really want you guys to have to write out all of these things. That's why you're better off to just learn the exponent rule. But you could do it this way, and I really had to do this out for some of you guys because you can see better what's going on and why the answer is what it is. Because otherwise, it just seems like a little magic trick. So this is what it is. And I hope now you can see how this became this. Because 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 is really 5 to the 4th, and u squared times u squared times u squared times u squared. You just add the exponents, and that gives you u to the 8. So that's the answer. But you can also simplify 5 to the 4th and write that as 625 u to the 8, and we can make that the answer. And that is it for number 2. Number 3, and again, if you want to do these, if you're watching at home, you can just pause the video and try to work it out before I explain it. So every time I introduce a new question, just pause the video, try to do it yourself. That's how you're really going to learn. You're not going to learn just by watching me. You actually have to try and wrestle with it yourself. And then once you're done with that, then you can watch my explanation. And so that's all it is for number 3. That was super easy. We just kind of break it down by its factors and then cancel whatever is in common, because v divided by v is 1, and 1 disappears in multiplication and division, so therefore we're just left with 5 over 2v. 7 times n to the negative 3. Well, that's just 7 times n to the negative 3. But what is a negative exponent? What you need to know is that a negative exponent, like let's say you have x to the negative 1, it doesn't make the x negative, it just flips it upside down. It just makes it over 1. So if x over 1 is like this, then negative 1 means you flip it. So for us here, that means 7 times 1 over n cubed. And then finally, we can just multiply that and we get 7. Let's do it like this. 7 over n cubed. Having a little hard time with my mouse today. Maybe I need to clean out the gunk on the bottom. It's used to work for us back in the day. And that is the answer. 7 over n cubed. If that was too fast for you, pause the video, rewind, and check it out. I'm moving on. Number 5. Here, we can separate out some of these values. And I'm just doing that just to show you all how this works. really having a hard time with the mouse today. And that is like this. And that's over y to the 4th. And then we can take some of these apart. So 2 over 10, that's really 2 over 2 times 5. And then those cancel, and so it's also times 1. So this is really 1 over 5. So for us here, I'm just going to write 1 over 5. For this x here, this is just 1. Because anything divided by itself is just 1. So we have this times 1. And then, finally, we have y to the 5th divided by y to the 4th. And for this, you're supposed to know the rule that when you divide two variables, or really any number with the same base, and they have different exponents, or just exponents in general, you subtract those exponents. So this becomes y to the 1. And so we just call that y. And so our final answer is simply y over 5. Because you multiply the numerators, you get y. You multiply the denominators, you get 5. So that is y over 5. Number 6. For this one here, you need to distribute this negative 5 here. And please note that the negative belongs to the term. And when you distribute it over here and over here, the negative goes along for the ride. So that means that this equals negative 34. I'm just going to leave this left side here alone. And not do anything with that. Just leave that alone. And then this green part here is going to be negative 15n plus 10. Because 5 times 2 is 10. And negative times negative makes it positive. And so now I'm in business. Now I want to get those n's positive. So I'm going to add 15n to both sides. And I'll do that over here. Come on, mouse. And that's going to give me negative 34 plus 22n. That's a 2. And that's going to just equal 10. I'll just keep the same colors. No need to shift. I'll use a different color now so we don't get confused here. So we're going to add 34 to both sides. And that's going to give me 22n equals 44. And that looks great because I can tell they're both divisible by 22. And if I divide both sides by 22, in fact, let me just let me do that real quick. Divide by 22, divide by 22. I'm going to get an answer, and the answer is going to be n equals 2. And that's it. And that's my answer right here. And then number 7, minus 22 minus 2x equals 8. You know, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide everything by 2 because I can. Because I realize that everything is even. And that's just going to make things slightly easier. Just not so big numbers. It's a good habit. It's served me well. And then I'm going to distribute that 4. I'm going to use a different color. I'm going to distribute this 4 to both of these. And so that's going to give me minus 11 minus x equals, and then 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times 6 is 24. And then that, in turn, I can add x to both sides. And you know what else I can do is, well, I need to get, let's just do that. Let's just do that. I'll show you what to do next. It's better not to do too much at once sometimes. Sometimes it's just better just do one thing at a time just so you can get a clearer picture of what you're looking at. And that's how you avoid mistakes too. It's just being thorough and yeah. So I have the X on the right side. So I was tempted to add the 11 to both sides because I don't like negatives. But I'm actually going to subtract 24 on both sides because that way I get the X's by itself. And that's ultimately what the goal is to get the X by itself. So this 24 here has to go to the other side. And now I'm left with negative 35 equals 5x. And now this, I can divide both sides by 5. So I'm going to do exactly that. What color should I use? I'll just use this one here. So I'm going to divide this by 5, and I'm going to divide this by 5. And that means that the answer, I don't know what color to use. I'll use blue. That means that the answer is negative 7 equals x. And that is it. That's all I have to do. X is negative 7, and we're done. Next one. Find the total value of the investment after the time given. Use compound interest formula. Round to the nearest cent, 2 decimal places. Excellent. Okay, so compound interest. Let's see how much time I have. Yeah, I wanted to get into the whole formula. So the formula, I'll just use the shorthand formula. The final amount is going to be the principal times 1 plus the interest rate as a decimal divided by the number of time periods it's compounded per year, all to the power of those time periods times t. And let's plug those numbers in. Let's plug those numbers in. And so that's going to be 9,000 times 1 plus 0.12. Semi-annually means twice a year, so that means n is 2. And that's all to the power of 2 times 1, because that's how many years it is. And so let's simplify this a little bit. So we still have the 9,000. And then this is going to be 1 plus 0.06, all squared. And that in turn is going to be 9,000 times 1.06 squared. And then I have to use a calculator. 1.06 squared is 1.1236. And if I multiply that by 9,000, I get 10,000. 10,112.40. Next up, simple interest. Simple interest is really easy. It's P times 1 plus RT. Same R as before, same T as before. So here we have 36,400 times 1 plus 0.14 times 2. And so that's going to be 36,400 times 1 plus 0.28. I'm going to go ahead and combine those two. And then, again, feel free to use a calculator for this. 1.28 times 36,400. And that's going to give you an answer of 46,000. Again, I apologize for the mouse. 592. And that's it. That's your answer. slope-intercept of this, here we have a y-intercept of 3. So that means that my b is 3. And then the rise and the run, the rise is, the next point seems to be right here. So we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. That's -4. And the run is going to be 1. So that means that our equation is y equals -4 over 1. You know what? I'll just go ahead and tell you it's just -4 because divide by 1 doesn't make a difference. And don't forget the x, and then it's +3. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope that was helpful to you. Please review this video. Do the work first before you watch. Please like, share, and subscribe. Buy my merch. Thank you. Bye.